Hey, it's Chris Lipe. It's been about a week since Miley Cyrus's new, highly anticipated rock album came out, and I was actually kind of looking forward to this album. From some of the live performances that she shared with us on YouTube, namely the Cranberries one that I reacted to a few weeks ago, I thought, man, this is going to really be some neat, raw rock and roll. And in full confession, it was less rock and roll than I thought it was going to be, but still really good and a nice departure from where she's come from. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a video that compares rock Miley to pop Miley, or younger Miley to older Miley, and make some notes of some differences, and not only how her voice has changed, age is part of this, but just in her approach and her attitude towards singing, and of course the music surrounding her. There's all sorts of things that we can glean from comparing and contrasting. So I have snippets from the studio recording of Wrecking Ball, and I'm comparing those with snippets from Plastic Hearts. And we're going to go back and forth and listen to the different qualities in her voice, listen to the different ways she handles certain things. They are, in some cases, a lot different back in the, early 2010s than they are now. And if you like this in-depth and analytical and introspective approach to singing, click the link below and join my free voice course. I help you use unconventional sounds and sensations to really figure out what your voice is capable of. Okay, here we go.
I just wanna feel something.
Okay, so you might think, oh man, she's really singing low now, which is actually the first thing I thought when I heard this track and exploring the other parts of the album. Man, she's beefier, she's lower. Well, yes, she's definitely beefier, but she's not all that lower. Listen to this.
Yeah, I will always want you.
You. Listen to this note on the end of this one.
I just wanna feel something. Something,
you. It's only a little bit lower, but her timbre and texture is very different. It's the way she's using her air. And this is something that singers sort of grow into sometimes with age, using air a little bit differently. In this example, from Rock Miley,
I just wanna
feel some. There's more of that happening, where she's holding back more air. I just wanna feel something. If I sing this same line without holding back as much air, I just want to feel something. I just want to feel something. Especially as I go low, and listen on that low note.
I just want to feel something.
Thin versus thin. It makes it seem lower and grittier. This sort of compression, holding back air, is the precursor to grit. Feel something. You can really go crazy with it, but feel something. Now listen here.
Yeah, I will always want you.
She still has that nice in-your-face clarity, and part of that's the way it was recorded, but I will
always want you.
There is much less compression going on. I will always
want you.
I will always want you. If we were to sing this line, I will always want you, we would have a bit more of that girth underneath it. So this is something, if we want to get more girthy, more in your face, we can hold back air and push a little bit more and do it subtly. She's really gotten a handle on that in her later, more recent stuff. Okay, next sample and comparison.
They won't leave here.
Versus.
You're not coming
Okay, now she's singing. She sounds a lot younger there, right?
You're not coming down. They won't leave here.
So she sounds like a smoker here.
They won't leave here.
Now, this is a little different than this line.
I just want to feel something.
And she's probably not thinking about all these things, but we will because it helps us learn about our own voices.
They won't leave.
So she's taking this compression technique to a greater level here, where we're not just holding back air. We're adding a bit of stage whisper on top. And this should come from above our voice box. I've said that many times on the channel.
They won't leave here.
Leave here, leave. This is not just leave here or leave here, leave here, leave here. You can hear that sound built. She's not doing any of that. She has none of that layered, sheen-like approach in her younger self.
You're not coming down. You're not coming down.
Now, you could argue, well, it's a lot higher and thinner. You're not coming down. You're not coming down. Just by nature of the pitch, it would be more difficult to do this approach.
They won't.
Not true.
You're not coming.
You're not coming down. You're not coming down. That would be, and you're going to hear her do that when she goes high in the next sample. So if we sing this like new Miley,
You're not coming.
you're not coming down. Hear that rasp? You're not coming down.
They won't leave here.
They won't leave here.
You're not coming.
You're not coming versus you're not coming down. You're not coming. You're not coming. Clean it up, right? You're not coming down. You're not coming down. Okay. Next comparison.
I've been living at the chateau. I've been living at the chateau.
Okay, now she's doing a lot of the same stuff that I pointed out so far, but she's doing something even a little different here that I want to juxtapose with this.
Don't you ever say I just walked away.
Okay, let's listen to him again.
I've been living at the chateau. Don't you ever say
So, don't,
I've been living at the chateau.
again, a little lower.
I've been living at the chateau. I've been living at the chateau.
Listen to the way she's putting her voice back. This is sort of a mild crawl. I've been living at the chateau.
I've been living at the chateau.
I've been living at very nasal. She's not as nasal here.
Don't you ever say I just walked away.
And granted, they're very different tracks, but listen to the way her voice floats over this.
Don't you ever say
Don't you ever say. Opening her voice, getting her face out of the way.
Don't you ever say I just walked away.
I just walked away. Don't you ever say. It's open and sweeter sounding, but interestingly enough,
I've been living at the chateau.
no, she's a little more closed there, but the difference in tones is mainly due to nasal placement. I've been living at the chateau. I've been living at, yeah, oh yeah, versus don't you. There's still nasal engagement, but it's much more put through. Your face is out of the way. In the first one, her face is more closed. I've been living at the chateau. More is coming through her nose. So if I were to, don't you ever try.
Don't you ever say I just walked.
Don't you ever say, I've been living at the chateau. Don't you ever say, don't you ever say, I've been living at the chateau. I've been living at the chateau. I've been living at the chateau. Okay. Now we get into some chorus stuff, some higher stuff that is going to show us more of what I was talking about earlier, where as she gets higher, she's continuing to add that not only compression, but rasp over her singing. And this, from what I can tell, and even from the live stuff that I looked at earlier, she's doing this pretty healthily. It sounds good. Now, there's some other things going on here that I'm going to point out as well. Okay, listening to that one, and then... Okay, so first one again. These are from the same song here. Okay, and then juxtaposed with... All you ever did was... Okay, more worried sounding, definitely thinner. Production's way different, and... Great line, by the way. Okay, let's go to her newer self here first. Okay, so we're gonna zero in on Hearts Are Bleeding. Let's treat this for what it is first, in that it's a really good job of layering on the production level. If we are listening here, you can hear this beefiness of her voice being accentuated by a lower version. Hearts are bleeding with the hearts are bleeding. Both are going on, right? And they're back there just enough, and they're doubled, and they're surrounding her lead voice, so it's widened out. But that's giving you even extra girth that you don't necessarily hear right away as doubling. You hear it as, ooh, gritty Miley. But it's not, it is somewhat gritty Miley, but it's not all gritty, and it's production too. And you juxtapose that with this. That's a single voice. There's some doubles way in the background, but in terms of octaves and differently sung things being layered, that's not there. And interestingly enough, I mean, there's a lot of that in her older stuff where there's lots of chorus layers. Pop vocals do that all the time. But there's a lot of that going on in her rock stuff, in her newer stuff, in sort of a pop way. But it's approached to make her position her voice very differently than it did before. So let's go back here and break down these lines. So, hearts, get these clean. Hearts are bleeding. Focus on how she does her vowels. Bleeding. That's not bleeding. Bleeding. And it's clean. We want to make sure we can go clean first. Then we're going to add the same sorts of things we did over it before. Hearts are bleeding. Hearts are bleeding. Let your voice crack as you're dialing this in. We want to make sure we're adding it over the top and not gargling our own voice. Ah! We don't want to do that. That gets into interrupting the flow of your vocal cords, and you end up going too hard on them. Hearts are bleeding, bleeding, bleeding. There it is. Hearts are bleeding. As opposed to just clean. Hearts are bleeding. And then we have that joined with hearts are bleeding, where she's doing that again. Hearts are bleeding. Now listen to how she lightens up. Keep me up all night. Keep me up all night. As she goes higher, she relies on those lower vocals to rasp it up for her. Keep me up all night. You hear that going on in the background. And then there's the keep me up all night. There's a little bit of grit going on there. It's a very nice sound. Keep me up all night. Yeah. Subtle grit, subtle compression. But as you get higher, that takes a different sheen and a different shape. It feels similar, but it's definitely not as pronounced as you get higher, which is why they added those lower voices in to ground what she was doing. Contrast that with earlier Miley.
All you ever did was.
There's a lot of airflow in here. All you ever did was. But if I were to approach this line, all you ever did was, it would be more compressed. We would be using more grit. All you ever did was. Or, all you ever did was. There's less air flowing.
All you ever did was.
Was. That is a very belted resonance. It's less nasal. Did was. There's less of that happening in her new stuff, where she's clearing her face out of the way and then she's darkening. Was. That's a much more pop way of going about things, where you're intentionally brightening certain things than her later stuff. And then this last one. Now, I like lines like this. These are hard to do because we're creating a cutoff sound and then we're entering with multiple glottal attacks. So that's hard on higher notes. Which, this is higher for me. It's right in the middle of her range. She's clean. Wrecked me. Oh, so if I were to bring that down a little bit, so it's the sound and sheen is similar to what she's doing, it might be more right here. Wrecked. She does a really good job of cutting those attacks off, or cutting the notes off, and then being pure in her attack. There's less squeak. And the way to do this is to focus on having constant support. This isn't ha 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 ha. This is right? I covered this in another video a few weeks back where we're actually talking about getting good gutturals. We have constant support. Wrecked. Constant push. Consistency down here, and we're moderating with the area above our voice box to create the interruption in airflow, as opposed to changing airflow for each one. I hope you enjoyed this look at younger Miley and older Miley, pop Miley versus rock Miley. It's fun to do. If you have suggestions about other vocalists you'd like me to take this approach with, leave those in the comments below. I'd love to see what you think about this kind of approach in general. And again, if you'd like help with your own voice, click that link below and join my free voice course. We'll see you there.